You ever open your phone without thinking? Not bored enough to stop? Not interested enough to enjoy it? You scroll, close the app, and feel slightly heavier than before. Most people call that habit. It's not. I didn't notice this at first either. I thought I was just tired, distracted like everyone else. But eventually I had to admit something uncomfortable. I wasn't escaping boredom. I was avoiding myself. Diagnosis. Where the real problem lives. Most people think social media addiction is a technology problem. Algorithms, endless feeds, notifications designed to hook you. That's only half the truth. Because if the phone were the real enemy, turning it off would feel like relief. But for many people, silence feels heavier than noise. Stillness feels more threatening than distraction. And that's where the real cage is. Not on your screen, but in your tolerance for being present. The moment nothing is happening, no messages, no updates, no validation, your mind starts to itch. And instead of sitting with that discomfort, you escape it, not into joy, into stimulation. And if you stay with me, you'll see why willpower keeps failing and what actually works instead. Stoic turn, why be stronger never works. Most advice says, be stronger, scroll less, resist harder. Stoicism says something quieter and far more effective. Urges are not orders. They are impressions, sensations, flickers of restlessness, and impressions only rule you when you give them consent. Epictetus put it simply, no man is free who is not master of himself. Notice what that implies. You are not enslaved by Instagram. You are enslaved by the reflex to avoid inner discomfort. Every scroll isn't a choice for pleasure, it's a reaction against stillness. That's why even good content leaves you empty. That's why even when you know better, your hand still reaches for the phone. Stoics called this the discipline of ascent. Every impulse knocks, but not every impulse deserves entry. Freedom doesn't begin with deleting apps. It begins in the moment you notice the urge and don't immediately obey it. Why willpower fails and clarity doesn't. Willpower fails because it fights the urge after you've already surrendered mentally. By the time you say, I shouldn't be doing this, you're already scrolling. Guilt reacts after the fall. Clarity intervenes before it. Stoicism works earlier, at the level of awareness, interpretation, and consent. That's why asking, why am I so undisciplined, keeps you trapped. A better question is, what am I actually seeking right now? Relief, distraction, connection, validation? Social media doesn't create these needs. It exploits them. And once you see that clearly, the urge loses its authority. The uncomfortable turn. This is where things get uncomfortable. Because once you stop reacting automatically, you start to feel what scrolling was protecting you from. Restlessness, comparison, low-grade anxiety, a quiet dissatisfaction with your own life. And that leads to a harder question. One most people avoid. What is this habit actually costing you before it costs you time? The real cost. Most people think the cost is time. That's obvious. But time isn't what it takes first. It takes your attention. And attention is the gateway to everything meaningful. Deep work, real conversation, emotional stability, self-respect. When your attention is constantly pulled outward, your inner life shrinks. You become reactive instead of deliberate. Then your emotional baseline drops. Not dramatically, quietly. You're not devastated after scrolling. You're just slightly off, more irritable, more impatient, less satisfied with your own progress. And over time, something else erodes. Self-trust. Each time you act against your better judgment, even in small ways, your mind takes note. You start to see yourself as someone who reacts instead of chooses. Replacement, not removal. So most people make the same mistake. They hear all this and immediately try to quit, delete the apps, force discipline, rely on motivation. and when it fails, they assume they're broken. The Stoics would say the opposite. The strategy was broken. The mind abhors a vacuum. Scrolling wasn't meaningless. It was serving real functions: relief, stimulation, escape from self-judgment. So Stoicism doesn't say just stop. It says replace the function, not the form. Passive consumption to active engagement, noise to chosen silence, endless novelty to deliberate repetition, small, realistic substitutions. Not to feel amazing, but to stay present without numbing. Voluntary discomfort, the training phase. And then comes the phase no one warns you about. Boredom, restlessness, uneasy silence. This is where most people panic and go back to the feed. The Stoics had a name for this phase. Training, not punishment, not deprivation. Training the nervous system to learn one truth: discomfort is survivable. Sit in silence for 10 minutes. Leave the house without audio. Log out after each session. Each act sends the same message. I don't need immediate relief to remain stable. At first, discomfort increases, then it fades, and something quieter appears. Clarity. This was never about quitting apps. It was about who commands your attention. Once you learn to tolerate silence, to sit with yourself, to choose instead of react, something fundamental changes. You stop living for attention. You stop outsourcing your inner state. You start living with steadiness. So here's a simple experiment. For the next 24 hours, don't fix anything. Don't optimize. Don't perform. Just notice the first moment your hand reaches for the phone and ask one question: what am I avoiding right now? That question doesn't shame you. It trains you. Attention fades. Steadiness compounds.